Welcome to Custom Crosshair Pro, just for a quick tutorial on how to use the app. The display controls, they're very simple, just two things there. One to disable or enable my crosshair that kind of shows up on my screen here. So I can just click that and it toggles it on and off. If you game on a different monitor than your primary monitor, if you have multiple monitors and you want the crosshair to show somewhere different, you can always change that here. So if I change it, you'll notice the crosshair is going to disappear. It now moves to my first monitor. Let's change it back so you can see my crosshair design during the rest of this video. So that's display controls, pretty simple. Now profile controls. Each profile, I mean it tells you right here, but each profile has up to 9 crosshairs. You can think of profiles, as each profile is for a different game. If you want multiple crosshairs for that game, you want them to be different for each game, or if there's multiple users on your PC and you want your own custom crosshairs. So let's go ahead and create a new profile. One thing to mention is the profile, you can save those. So let's say you refer your friend, they love your crosshairs, you save that, you send them that file, and they can then open that file by adding a new profile and loading what you sent them, and then it will load those crosshairs. You can also delete profiles, right? So if you created a bunch and you only end up using one, you can delete those. But let's add a new profile, pretending there's a second user. So we'll go ahead and call this user 2. Now user 2 can have separate crosshairs. It'll always load one of the default crosshairs for you. Like I said, each profile can have up to 9 crosshairs. It will tell you how many crosshairs are in there. So that's kind of profiles. The profile does save also the keybinds related to that profile. So each profile, let's say you play one game on controller, one game on mouse and keyboard, you can have different keybinds for each of those that are different per the game. So let's go ahead to designing crosshairs. Let's say, I really like this. I really like this simple green cross for one of my crosshairs, but I want to do another one. I want to do a variation of this. What I can do is click duplicate. It's going to make a duplicate of that exact crosshair that I already have designed. And now let's go ahead and rename this. So we'll call this cross, or actually we'll do a T. We'll do T with circle. And I'll kind of show you some of the features now with that you can do. So I had it on reload design just because I was messing with some crosshairs before this video. But main design is what you always want to design first. This is the default crosshair that shows before you click any keybinds. So let's say I like this cross, but like I said, we want to make a T. And we want this, let's say we want this gap to be larger too. So let's come down here, let's go to gap. We can increase that. That way I can see when my target is centered right in the middle of my crosshair nicely for those far away shots. Now let's say I want it just a little bit thicker. You can do that. Actually, I don't like it that thick. But let's say I want it longer. There we go. Now we're designing a T, right? So what I can do is I can remove this top, and now we have a T. You can remove the bottom. You can have an upside down T, kind of however you want, right? If you want to remove the left or right for some reason, have at it. If you just want 2 lines, whatever it is. So we're going to make a T, so we'll leave it like that. I'd like the gap to be a little bit smaller actually. The one thing I always do for all my crosshairs is change the opacity down. If you play only up close games where your enemies or targets are always up close, 100% opacity is probably better because the crosshair will show up more. But for those far shots, when the enemy or target gets really small, you want to have the opacity much lower, so if they move just out of the center, your crosshair doesn't end up blocking them visually. I like to change mine to about a 50%. Still shows up nicely on the screen, but then I can see enemies or targets behind it. As far as my outline, I don't want an outline on this. Go ahead and change it to a 50%. Actually, we'll leave the outline. We'll change it to 50% opacity. We always want to match the opacity here so the outline doesn't block those targets when that we're seeing them through our crosshair. What I like to do with all my crosshairs is vertically offset them just a tiny bit. You can see as I move this up, the crosshair is moving down. But what I like to do is just set this to like a 1 or a 2. I'll set it to a 2. And the reason that is I miss a lot of headshots. And so by having my crosshair just a tiny 1 tick or 2 lower, I end up aiming just a little lower by nature because my crosshair is there. And then I end up hitting more of those headshots. So yeah, we'll put this at a 2. We can change the color if we want, right? So let's change this to a magenta. You know, pick any color here. You can enter a custom color if you have branded colors, right? If you're a streamer and you got branded colors, put in your exact color also. But we'll go ahead and do like a dark purple for this. Or actually, no, we'll do magenta. Magenta stands out more. As you're designing your crosshair, if your games are light, right, you can leave this to a white. You can have it to dark. If your games are dark, you can switch it back and forth to see how it looks on both. But I'm going to leave this one on light because the overlay crosshair that's in the center here has a dark background. So that way I can kind of see both. So yeah, that's good enough for my main crosshair, right? So now let's move on to the variations. So the variations for aim down, sight, fire, and reload are basically if you want visual feedback on your crosshair in game. What you can do is go in this ADS design. Now it's going to tell me these are linked to the keybinds for each of these. So ADS, fire, and reload. These are linked to these keybinds down here for ADS, fire, and reload. You can also set a keybind for toggle crosshair. So I'll just kind of show you how to do that really quickly. Let's say you stream and or I don't know, you work in between games and you don't want the crosshair to show. Well, you want to leave your crosshair on so you can quickly turn it back on when you're back to gaming. You want to create a bind for the toggle crosshair so you don't have to go up here, open the app, and disable it. This keybind will work whether the app is maximized, minimized, or whatever. So we'll go ahead and click bind. It shows that it's recording. And now I want to do, let's say I want to do F3. So it tells me that I recorded F3 right up here. Now I just click stop recording. You want to make sure you don't click your mouse anywhere outside because what it will do is it will add that to your keybind, right? So now I have F3 plus my right mouse click. I don't want that. So we'll stop recording, we'll clear it, and then we'll re-record just the F3. So now the F3 is done, I'm going to click stop recording. Now every time I hit F3, it's going to toggle my crosshair on or off. And again, that's whether the app is minimized down in your Windows bar or whether it's open on the screen. You can have keybinds for each crosshair. So if you have different crosshairs for different guns and you press 1, 2, 3, 4 to switch those, you can add different keybinds for those. Now we only have 2 right now shown because we only have 2 crosshairs. But if we add a third crosshair, you'll notice that the third keybind shows up. So let's go ahead and just set these real quick. We'll bind these to 1, 2, actually we'll get rid of 3. And you'll see it goes away. So now every time I hit 1 and 2, it's going to switch my crosshairs. Now let's say you chat, with your chat if you're a streamer, or if you're typing in game, and you don't want your crosshair to change every time you just, you're typing a 1. What you can do is you can change these to a hold. And that way, now if I'm pressing 1 and 2, it doesn't switch, but I actually have to hold it down for just a microsecond. Actually, it's 100 milliseconds. You can change that to up to 2,000 milliseconds for a longer press if you're a slow typer, for example. But generally, if you're typing normally, the 1 or 2 is not going to switch it until you actually hold it just for a microsecond. So leave those on holds. Now what we want to do is set our aim down, sight, fire, and reload. For me, that's controller, right? So I'm going to turn on my controller. And for aim down sight, I use the left trigger, so I'm going to click bind. I want to click my left trigger on my controller. You can see that it recorded it up here. I'm going to click stop recording. Next, I'm going to bind my fire. So my fire is right trigger. I'm going to stop recording. Now it's set to right trigger, and my reload is my X button. So click X, registers the click, Now click stop. So now my keybinds are set. Let's go ahead and make the designs. So we always want to do a variation of the main design because the idea is for visual feedback, not a completely different crosshair. Unless you actually want that, have at it. But my suggestion is you just, small micro visual feedback for these, otherwise they get too distracting. So I'm going to enable the aim down sight. First thing I want to do is load the current crosshair. You'll see that it confirms that we have a keybind set. If you haven't set keybinds, this will be red like it was before, and it will tell me that the keybind is not set, and you also have to do that. So this is set, right? Oh, actually, sorry. Main design, I'm going to go back here. We want to add a circle around this. That's kind of what we talked about designing in the beginning. So to do that, I'm going to add an element really quickly. We're going to change this to circle. Right, that looks awful. We want this circle to be on the outside of the T, not blocking the view of it. So we want to increase that. That looks about right. We want to match the offset that we did. So if I go back to main, we did a 2 offset. So we want to do a 2 offset also. We want to make that opacity the same so this circle doesn't end up blocking our view. And same thing with our outline. Change that to a 50%. And let's go ahead and change the color to a green. That really contrasts. You can change your outline color, right? So you select the outline color. Let's say we want it, I don't know, white. Let's do, or let's make it, see if it contrasts more. Yeah, I mean, you select whatever color you want, really. But we'll leave it a dark blue. So that is set. Now we go to our ADS design. We made changes, but we can still load the current crosshair. So click load, it updates all those changes to this. Now we want the visual feedback for when we aim down sight to, let's say we want this circle to change to dark blue. Right, so you can see the live preview is showing me, but until I press that keybind, it's not going to change on the overlay here. So let's press our keybind now, left trigger, and you can see it changes. Now let's go ahead and do fire. Fire for me, do the same thing. We want to activate it, turn it on. We want to load the current crosshair, and then we want to switch to our circle, and I like fire for red, so I'm going to do fire red. Now when I aim down sight, it changes to our aim down sight blue. When I click fire, it changes to red. If I continue to hold down aim down sight, you'll see it switching back to blue after I click fire. But the second I release my aim down sight, it goes back to my default crosshair. Now finally for reload, this is actually the one I use most. I find these distracting in game, but I'll leave them on just for this demo. But reload I do use because I always want to make sure my weapons are reloaded. So we want to load the current design, and we want to switch to the circle. We want that circle to change to yellow when we reload. So now all 3 of my keybinds, aim down sight, fire, reload. If you're holding down multiple of them, basically they release in the order. So like I said, if I'm holding down aim down sight, I press fire, I release fire, but I'm still holding down aim down sight, it'll go back to that crosshair until I release everything. It goes back to my main crosshair design. Then if I reload my weapon, I get that visual feedback. If you ever don't like these, like if they become too distracting, like I said, for me personally, I turn off aim down sight and fire, so you just come in here and deactivate that. Now I'm pressing my reload and fire, and it's doing nothing, but when I press, aim down sight and fire, it's doing nothing. But when I press reload, I still get that visual feedback. Keybinds are saved as part of your profile, but you can save those separately for any reason if you just want to send your keybinds to a friend or however you want to do it. But so you can save those as a different file, but they do save to the profile also. That's it for the demo. If you guys, again, if you have any issues after watching this video, questions or feedback for improvement, we are looking to improve. We're looking to build the best Crosshair app that's available out there. Please contact us, customcrosshairpro@gmail.com. If you've been using it, if you've purchased it, if you love it, we would absolutely love if you left us a 5-star review on Microsoft App Store. It helps us grow, it helps us reach more gamers, and it gives us more budget to continue to grow this app. Thank you so much for watching and hope you enjoy the app. Thank you.